Hi, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about if thoughts or doubts or fears can get in the way of manifesting your results. This is one of the most common questions I'm asked, as I believe, and at least for myself in the past, negative thoughts were a huge problem as it relates to manifesting, because the question is, are all thoughts manifested, or what happens if you have an opposite thought to that which you manifest? I want to break down the process of how manifesting works, and then I want to talk about a few experiences and basically just the way manifesting works as it relates to thoughts and manifesting in general, so that we can get down to the bottom of this and find a solution to obsessive or negative thoughts. Before we begin, definitely hit the subscribe button. The like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who would not normally be able to see this video will be able to see it. Hit the subscribe button if you want broken down systematic methods on how to manifest anything that you want. And I recommend hitting the bell icon too. Also, there's a worksheet accompanying this video. Go down in the description, click it, download it, whatever. It's going to help you to kind of break things down as far as this video is concerned. So let's just jump right into this then. I haven't used the whiteboard in a little bit, so bear with me. We'll see if we can get it to work. So I have written here, thoughts versus imaginal acts. So what does that even mean? The idea or the question is that we have imaginal acts that we are trying to push out into this world. And when they are really big things, or if they're problems that have haunted us for a very long time, or if we just have some type of adverse effect to the imaginal act after we do it and we're being inundated with negative thoughts, are we actually preventing our manifestation from coming, or are we getting in the way? Are we expanding the middle? Is it going to kill our manifestation? What's the connection between thoughts versus imaginal acts when they're related to each other? So I think in order to get down to the bottom of this, we want to talk about the process of creation and the way things work. So the concept of creation simplified as it relates to this topic is as follows. Our subconscious mind is the medium ground between our conscious mind and manifestation. So whatever gets into the subconscious mind will be manifested on the screen of space. So first comes, in essence, whatever exists within our subconscious is pushed out, and we'll start from there. But what gets into our subconscious mind? How is our subconscious mind affected or impressed? By what medium or means is it impressed? So the conscious mind, which is that which we are aware of in essence, and the difference between the conscious and subconscious. The subconscious we're unaware of. It's subconscious. We're not conscious of it. But the conscious mind are things such as thoughts, things that we, inner conversations that we have, imaginal acts, things that we perceive in the external world. So that which we are conscious of doing is on our conscious mind, so to speak. So our conscious mind will start from the perception after we talk about the subconscious, we'll talk about the external world. So the external world enters into our perception, which is known. And our awareness or our consciousness receives that information in, and then depending upon the intensity of observation or attention, it can then enter into the subconscious mind. Now, there's no way to exactly guarantee that something is going to impress the subconscious mind, although there are various ways to ensure to a degree that they will enter there. But it's, as I said, generally things that we are focused on intently, or things that we have a reaction to. So things enter into our perception from the external world, whether that be an event, something someone says, any type of experience that we undergo will enter into our conscious mind. And then depending upon our reaction or the intensity of attention, it will enter into the subconscious mind. And from there, we know that when something goes into the subconscious mind, it is then guaranteed to manifest on the external world. So where does the imagination fit into this? And where does manifestation in general fit into this? Well, there's one aspect that I left out, and it's the most important one. and it's about our personal consciousness, our perception, and our imaginal act. So we have the capacity as human beings to draw upon memories. We have the capacity as human beings to visualize or imagine alternative scenarios of our creation within our consciousness, right? So within that capacity to imagine, we also have the capacity to pay close attention to that which we imagine. So when it comes to manifesting our greatest desires or anything whatsoever, if we fixate on or ruminate on any type of imaginal act, any type of inner thought, any type of belief, any type of expectation, any type of fear, that is the human capacity to shape and control our destiny independent of the events that are happening external. Because remember, I said, if we didn't have that perception, if we didn't have that capacity to imagine, then everything that we experienced would generally seep right into our consciousness and go into our subconscious mind and would just be replicated. So the very fact that we have control over thoughts, control over what we imagine, control over our perception, our inner monologue, inner dialogue, arguments that we have with people, we have the power, the capacity to reshape and reform our reality. And so that's extremely important, and it can be a blessing and it can be a curse. Before manifesting, at least in my case, it was a curse because my perception was always negative. My thoughts were negative. I imagined horrible things, and it turned out that all or a lot of those things had manifested. And so it became a lot of effort and work to get me out of that. But all I had to do, and all we really have to do, is conceive of scenes that would imply that we already have our manifestation, and then imagine them to the point where our mind is saturated with them. And once we become solely focused or entirely embodied in that imaginal act to the point to which nothing exists outside of that imaginal act, we're fully lost, or we fully identify in that imaginal act, that is enough attention, directed attention or saturation for that scene to impress the subconscious mind. And then therefore the reality external will shift, be modified, be reshuffled, orchestrated, etc., to conform to that which has been impressed on your subconscious mind. So now reality is a mixture between our imagination and what we experience. And then we're left with the question, when we want to imagine the thing that we want, manifest the thing that we want, we know the process to do that. We just have to become fully identified with that imaginal act, because the rest of the process happens automatically. We don't have any idea when it's going to come to pass. We don't have any idea how it's going to come to pass. That exists within an intelligence surpassing us. That's within infinite awareness that we are connected to. And infinite awareness is also aware of our mind, our body, right? So an example of that would be if I were to say to you, think about what you're thinking right now. You're probably thinking about what I'm saying, making connections, etc. But the very fact that you can observe your thoughts means that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the awareness that is aware of your experience. And if I asked you, who is it? Or what is it that is aware of your experience? You would say, I am. And that I am in Scripture is the name for God. So we equate the word God to our awareness. And all things that exist within our awareness have the capacity to be created. And that brings us to the process that we just talked about. Now I want to talk about another aspect that's important that will bring us closer to our answer. There's a couple verses in the Scripture that talk about, and now just to be clear, I always reference this and I always preface this, that when I talk about Scripture, I'm no way talking about Christianity. I'm talking about the letter behind the words, a psychological analysis of the Bible, which is the way it was intended to be written, which is all about manifesting. And so when I reference these quotes, just take it for that. So there's a verse that says, he who has will be given more, and he who doesn't have will be taken away. And these are very important as it relates to this, because when we become conscious thereof, our imaginal act, we have what we desire to have. So in other words, consciousness is the one true reality, and all of it is pushed out. And so when it says something like, he who has will have more, and he who does not have will be taken away from, it's not talking about physically at all. It's talking about what's in your consciousness. So on one hand, your aware of this imaginal act, this big desire, this thing that you want. But on the other hand, you're also aware of these negative thoughts coming in, these fears, doubts, indecisions. Say you want a business, say you want money, but inside you're thinking, I can't do this. I'm never going to amount to anything. I always fail. But nevertheless, you're visualizing yourself as a person who already has that business. So how does this factor in here with he who has gains more essentially, and he who has not has taken away from him? So within our consciousness exist two separate and contrary things, but they're not fully contrary. You're not imagining that you have a business and then imagining that you don't have a business. So what is very likely to happen here is that you will impress various degrees of impressions on your subconscious mind related to not only the imaginal act, but also your thoughts. You see, each imaginal act itself plants its own seed. So when we imagine various things related to each other, there's no guarantee, and in most cases, it will not all account for the same imaginal act, the same manifestation. What you will find more times than not, and I've figured this out by testing this thousands and thousands of times, is that each imaginal act has its own seed. And in Scripture also it says every vision has its own appointed hour, in the sense of every imaginal act will manifest at its own time. And so when we imagine something, different things, we're planting different seeds. So in the case of the business, imagine that you have this big successful business, but these negative thoughts talking about you can't do it, etc. What's going to happen is there's going to be a combination of various manifestations unfolding in the world. Now, some of these little imaginal acts, meaning the inner monologue that you have, are going to manifest before the big scene, the imaginal act. So that means you can actually push back your imaginal act by consistently manifesting small contrary things in the middle. And then also, on top of that, besides the fact that you're creating these little middle things altogether, the bridge of incidents from which you will end up. So the bridge of incidents, if you don't know, are the chain of events that unfold between you and the end, your manifestation unfolded. But we are unaware of the way in which it comes. We have no idea how our manifestation is going to come. Our bridge of incidents is consistent of our beliefs. Now there's a verse that says, I am the vine, you are the branches. And long story short, that means your consciousness is the creator and everything without is the created. So nothing can come to you unless you have manifested it, right? Which means you can never see something that you haven't first created in your mind. So the bridge between here and your business is going to consist of those beliefs that exist within you. Now, there's going to be varied beliefs, right? Some are going to be good, some of it are going to be a pain in the ass. However, if you're having contrary thoughts about your imaginal act itself and they're repetitive or obsessive, the likelihood of you having a smooth path between here and the end is very unlikely. It's going to be consistent of things that are going to be difficult for you to attain it. And that gives us a hint for the solution to this problem, right? Because there are issues as it relates to contrary thoughts. So one little thing, and that is if you have extreme, obsessive, fearful thoughts, it is possible that your manifestation will fail. It's only happened to me one time and one time only out of all the countless thousands of times I've manifested, but nevertheless, it has happened. All of this together, though, there is a solution to every single thing. Your negative thoughts, your obsessive thoughts, getting in the way to your manifestation, creating bad bridge of incidents. The solution here is beliefs. So all things are manifestations, and I've focused solely in this video upon the external world, and that everything without, including people, places, things, experiences, your finances, your health, your wealth, your relationships, all of that is based upon your consciousness. But there's more than that is manifested. And some things that are manifested are your thoughts as well. So some thoughts are not deliberately invoked by yourself. They are manifested as well. And in the case of these thoughts that you're battling and fighting, the likelihood that they are coming from a belief is very high. So in other words, beliefs within you that exist within your subconscious will feed your mind thoughts to prove to you those beliefs. So if I have a belief inside of me that I always fail, then what will happen is Thoughts will erupt always that are saying things in alignment with that belief system. And ultimately, the goal of the subconscious is to prove to me that which is in there. So ultimately, it's going to want to prove to me that, yes, I'm going to fail. Now, it's non-selective. It's not the subconscious's fault. It's our perception, our decision, our experience. And so in that case, what we have to do is remove that belief. We have to modify that belief. And if we can change the belief that I always fail, and we can transform it into something like I always succeed, the bridge of incidents will clear up and you'll have a smooth transition. You'll stop with the negative thoughts. You'll stop with the negative manifestations. You'll stop with pushing the end. And overall, the world will transform to prove to you that belief. So this is extremely important. So how do we change belief? So we may not be able to identify the belief, but we can look at the manifestation. So whether it is our thoughts, right, that are obsessive or negative, which is what we're focusing on, we can take what the thought is and reverse engineer, back engineer it, and contemplate a few solutions and ask ourselves this question. If a belief inside of me was creating these negative thoughts, what would it be? And think about that for a second. That's the solution, because once you can come up with that belief, right? For instance, I kept having negative thoughts like I'm going to fail, I can't do this, etc. about business. And I could speculate. I know a belief is doing it. And this has been tested before. This isn't speculation. This method actually works systematically, and you can test it. There must be a belief inside which is causing those thoughts. So the belief that probably exists is something like, I never succeed in things, or I'm bad at business, or something to that effect. So what we do is jot down all these different possibilities and then find the opposite of them. So for instance, what belief, if I had it, would cease to have these negative thoughts, would not grow or be the vine of these fruit, which are negative thoughts? So maybe beliefs such as, and I would jot down maybe 10 of them, like I always succeed, I'm very good in business, I always win, I'm very organized, and I would go on and on and on. And once I did that, I would visualize a conversation with a friend with me explaining my new belief system, explaining how it's affected me. And the way I would do that is in first person point of view. I'd have them compliment me on my new beliefs or the result of my new beliefs, and me explaining to them also more results or confirm what they said or expand upon it. And then ultimately I would have them just reaffirm it back to me. And it's as simple as that. So I would go down for each belief. Sometimes you can include more than one belief in a scene, as long as it's not too long. You want your scenes to be only a few seconds long, 5 seconds long, and then loop it over and over until it feels natural. And then what will happen is you will plant a seed in your subconscious, and then the external world and the internal world will conform to that seed. So events will begin to transpire to naturally convince you of your new belief. You don't have to force yourself, and it doesn't work to force yourself of new beliefs. What you need to do is have the experience that proves to you that you are good. And by imagining your new belief system, the world will automatically conform. That's the bridge of incidents to your imaginal act, to what's in your subconscious mind, and then you will ultimately begin to believe that. And once you believe it, those negative thoughts will stop. You'll stop creating negative things, and on it goes. And this is a system that's tested and it works. That forceful back and forth with your mind, fighting your negative thoughts, going back and forth doesn't work. It never has. I have never known a single person out of all my subscribers that works for. You visualize yourself. You always manifest everything. That is the key. That is the key. So start analyzing these thoughts that are getting in the way from you getting what you want. Find the opposite of the belief that's causing them, and then manifest it, meaning visualize yourself as the person who has that new belief system, and that is it. So listen, get that worksheet. I highly recommend it. It will help you out with this. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe for more broken down exact methods on how to manifest in a time-tested way, especially by Neville Goddard, or at least examined and summarized by Neville Goddard and time tested. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified, which I highly recommend, by the way, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.